Clerk.
Private members' business notice number 12 relating to NBN and rural and regional Australia.
I call the member for Indi.
Mr Deputy Speaker, I move the motion relating to NBN and rural and regional Australia. I move the motion, but I don't have my seconder here. Would you second it for me?
Second motion.
Yes.
We don't need a seconder yet. You can make your contribution.
Right,
and then,
thank you very much. I move that the House notes that the NBN fair use policy is unfair for rural and regional Australia, that rural NBN users have restricted data speeds, limits on capacity, and have to pay more for a poorer service. That under the NBN interim satellite service, rural users had off-peak data from 11 p.m. to 2 p.m, and on the new NBN Sky Muster satellite service, the off-peak has now changed between 1 a.m. and 7 a.m, and the consequence of the NBN fair use policy is that businesses, students, home workers and farmers have reduced internet access and pay comparatively more. And I call on the government to implement the recommendations of the 2015 Regional Telecommunications Review and to review the NBN fair use policy in light of the impact on rural families and businesses. I call on the government to maximise, or the NBN, to maximise the amount of data available under the satellite service and revert the off-peak period in the NBN fair use policy to 11 p.m. to 2 p.m. to accommodate the realities of rural life. Mr Deputy Speaker, in the Weekly Times recently, there's a very poignant story of a farmer and a businesswoman and the problems she's had with NBN access. Bonnie Doon, organic lamb and beef producer Carolyn Suggett, struggles to divvy up her 40 GB monthly NBN Sky Muster download allowance between her farm work and 3 data-hungry children. My son is about to enter Year 12 and can't use the internet at home for downloading anything substantial. She says, Ms Suggett, who has online beef and lamb business and is the administrator of the Organic Federation of Australia. They talk about the difficulties of remote students, but we're not in the Kimberleys. Imagine telling a city kid that they can't get internet after school. Mrs Suggett and her family live a 20-minute drive from Mansfield in northeast Victoria, but fall 2 k's outside the reach of the local NBN fixed wireless tower. They have had to sign up to the NBN satellite service, which caps their data allowance at 40 GBs a month during the NBN defined peak period of 7 a.m. to 1 a.m. We've got access to another 100 gigs a month off peak, but that's from 1 a.m. to 7 a.m, she says. Not much use. So not only is the data and access a problem, but she also talks about the problems they're having with the system. She says that since connecting to the NBN satellite service 10 weeks ago, Ms Suggett and her family have experienced an outage a week, most of which lasts for hours, not minutes. So we've got some problems that we really need to address. And as you would know, Mr Deputy Speaker, the telecommunications landscape is changing. Smart devices and online communication are now essential for businesses in Australia, and rural Australians want to capitalise on these innovations, whether it be for small business, rural education, social connectivity, e-health, remote management of industry, automation on our farms, emergency services. We're beginning to come to rely on the internet and the connectivity it gives us. Many people were looking forward to the NBN and the better internet access it would provide. However, in my electorate, many people are now concerned about affordability and value, as they pay twice what their metro counterparts are paying for a limited satellite service. This makes it very business for rural businesses to compete. So in bringing my comments to a close, I call on the government to really take heed of the 2015 review recommendations and move towards a more equitable model of service delivery in regional areas. I call on the government to manage and prioritise demand on NBN satellite services, to ensure that the structure of the NBN Co's fair use policy and wholesale tariffs minimise the negative impact on rural and regional businesses and users. So particularly tonight, I just want to acknowledge the people of my community. We've heard your call. Very happy to bring your issues to the government and to Parliament and continue to work to make this service better for all of us. Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker.